Part 57. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 561. Chapter 561 Forget It with Chinwan. As soon as Rong Li came back, he heard the laughter of Ji-sun and Guziu. His face darkened and he was extremely unhappy. It must be Li Jiang, a big mouth, who broadcast the embarrassing story of his blind date. Did he have a trance? Actually asked Li Jiang to arrange a blind date. The Rong family was a large family that established itself in North America 100 years ago. It started out as a shipping and logistics company. Later, it cooperated with the Jida. Under the operation of the Jida, the industry expanded unprecedentedly and accumulated huge assets. Rong Li had been talking with a silver spoon in his mouth since he was a child. If it weren't for the Rong family wants to seize power, and Zhang Junlin is forced to liquidate the family. The biggest worry for the pampered Rong Li is how to lose his family. He is not the eldest son of the Rong family, but ranks fourth. He has two brothers and one sister above him. He is the youngest in the family and the only child of Mr. Rong's third wife. Mr. Rong favors the eldest son, and all he wants from Rong Li is to eat, drink and have fun. Does not need to bear the burden of the family, so he has been since he was a child. If it were not for family changes, he would still be a carefree rich second generation. After joining the Black Hawk, in the past few years, he was like Lu Ziwen's shadow, handling Black Hawk's official affairs on behalf of Lu Ziwen. Lu Ziwen made many decisions and he would implement them. He took Lu Ziwen's place in socializing and never showed his true face. For the sake of the three, for his safety, he was afraid of being exposed. Apart from using Rong Li's identity to deal with Black Hawk's affairs, he didn't make friends, didn't fall in love, and had no one close to him. A few years ago, there was also a woman who pursued him. The pursuit was vigorous and she turned around neatly. Rong Li didn't understand why feelings came and went so quickly. He didn't understand and didn't delve into it. Looking at Lu Ziwen and Jia Gensun's love life was full of hardships, and it was very cruel to her heart and body, and she was immediately persuaded to quit. Why did she suddenly have the idea of falling in love this time? He must be crazy. It was also his first blind date, and he was quite unfamiliar. The first blind date chatted with him for 5 minutes and said something that was not appropriate. It was okay to be friends, but not in love. He was confused and sent a recording asking Li Jiang which sentence he said was wrong. Li Jiang thought to himself, "You didn't say anything right." He is not interesting, and he smokes a cigar in front of the lady. It is a blind date disaster. After Rong Li met the three girls, he felt unhappy. Why should he sit here like a commodity waiting for a price and let others judge him? Once he was unhappy, progress would become more difficult. Li Jiang's circle of friends was updated in real time. I found out that the girls were making complaints, and each one had a different point of complaint. Li Jiang. He finally worked as a matchmaker, but ended up in a misfortune. He was so angry and funny that he couldn't help but share it with Ji-sun. Ji-sun just let go of Zhang Junlin's pigeons just to watch the fun. Wow, our groom-to-be is back from a blind date. Chinwan booed, not caring about the excitement. Master Rong, you have been reduced to a blind date. It's so miserable. Li Jiang's introduction is inappropriate. I'll give it to you, you introduce it. Get out. Rong Li had a dark face and a bad temper. You don't know the heart of a good person. My friends and classmates are all the same age as me. By the way, they are already young. Chinwan touched her chin and said with a bit of disgust, "Don't worry, we won't. I despise you for eating young grass." Ji-sun smiled and said, "You're not old either." Chinwan said in an unsurprising way, "As a man, it doesn't matter whether you are old or not. Physical strength is the most important thing." Guziu asked shamelessly, "Why?" Chinwan spoke in a yellow accent and was very happy. He was silent for a moment and said, "Gu Si, you explain. I don't understand." Ronglipi asked with a smile, "I don't understand either, why don't you explain it to me?" "Oh my God, you are so innocent, but you are still a young child." Qin Wan was shocked. "You are wasting your natural resources, you didn't see it?" Rong Li originally wanted to ridicule Qin Wan, but he didn't expect to shoot himself in the foot. He was so angry that he walked away with his sleeves. When he closed the door, he could hear Qin Wan's wild laughter and the sound of beating the sofa. Gu Si I felt pity for Rong Li. "You should only stop when you are so happy. Don't be too happy to be sad." "Ha ha 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 ha, this is definitely the happiest thing for me this year." Qin Wan was punished by Zhang Junlin during this period to cultivate his moral character, which seemed to have made him lonely. After everyone had seen it and the excitement was over, Gu Si I took Qin Wan and Gu Ziu away. As soon as they left, Rong Li came out and pointed at Li Zhang. "Why are you so big-mouthed?" "Li Zhang died unjustly, Ji Sun's fault is not mine." "Why is it my fault? Ji Sun was also wronged, I was planning to go on a date. You asked me to come over and watch the fun." "Rong Li, why can't you think of going on a blind date?" "None of your business." Rong Li pushed him away with a rough voice and ran to the gym next door to practice sandbags. Most of these gyms were used by Rong Li. The sandbags were all specially made. Ordinary sandbags were really hard to beat. Ji Sun also changed into a set of clothes to work out with him. When Rong Li saw him, he became angry and pointed at the boxing ring. "Come up. Why didn't you fight Qin Wan when she was here? What a chance for revenge." Although Ji Xian complained, he still got into the boxing ring. Rong Li couldn't help but say a punch. Ji Yan just brought his fist, blocked his hands, and fell back on the guard net again and again. "This is too much. Less nonsense." Ji Xian raised his eyebrows, moved his wrist, and punched him. Ji Xian is a professional in boxing. He has been practicing boxing in the Colosseum for several years and has developed his own skills. The two of them go back and forth. Rong Li is stronger than Ji Xian, but Ji Sun is more skilled than Rong Li. No one had the upper hand in the back and forth. The male hormones exploded, and the fists hit the flesh. Half an hour later, the two of them were lying on the boxing ring, both too tired to get up. Ji Xian kicked him. "Why did you go on a blind date?" He knew Rong Li very well. In fact, Rong Li had no interest in falling in love at all, and he didn't really want to establish any intimate relationship with anyone. It was also difficult for him to have a crush on anyone, and it was difficult for women to tolerate Rong Li's violent temper. It looked like someone was going to commit domestic violence over a disagreement. "It's free." Rong Li wiped his sweat, sat up and opened a bottle of water. Sweat dripped into his eyes, and the corners of his eyes were red due to physiological reasons. He rubbed his eyes, raised his head, drank half the bottle of water, and handed it to Ji Sun. Ji Sun took it, raised his head and drank it. He threw the bottle aside casually and asked Rong Li, "Go on a blind date when you have free time. You are really free. What are you looking for?" "What, you want to introduce me?" Rong Li mocked. "How many girls do you know?" Ji Xian was not angry when he was laughed at, and tooted, "The girl Li Zhang introduced is not suitable for you at first glance." "How do you know?" "Although you are fat and thin, your personality is very gentle, so it is not suitable for you." Rong Li also doesn't like girls who are as innocent and cute as little white rabbits. In his eyes, they can die if pinched and are extremely fragile. He hates all fragile creatures, just like his mother. Rong Li's mother is Rong Lao's third wife. She is a beauty pageant girl with outstanding appearance and tall figure. She has a mixed-race angel face. Rong Lao caught a glimpse of her at the airport and fell in love with her at first sight. Rong Li's mother had a childhood sweetheart boyfriend. They were in a very good relationship and were about to talk about marriage. After the old man fell in love with her at first sight, he refused her flowers, cars, and houses. He kept doing it and robbed Rong Li's mother. Locked up at home. He is an old gangster, a gentleman's old gangster, a top pua master. He tells of his love at first sight for Rong Li's mother and wants to give her everything except freedom. He took Rong Li's mother to a cocktail party with the top ladies in Paris, and spent a lot of money at the auction house. The extravagant life he piled up with money confused the young girl who was inexperienced in the world. A girl's first love is insignificant compared with her life of extravagance and extravagance. The girl is also lost in the sweet trap set by a mature man, and she falls. She married Rong Lao. The old man was a philanderer and had countless illegitimate children. His love at first sight only lasted a year. After Rong Li's mother became pregnant with Rong Li, the old man began to pursue his love again. Rong Li's mother became a vase in a gorgeous cage. Rong Li's brothers and sisters, who were more than 10 years older than him, regarded her as a thorn in their side. After the old man continued his affair, she also lost their protection. It was difficult for a beautiful, young, and backgroundless woman to survive in a big family. She was originally a young girl who is not deeply involved in the world, and her temperament gradually becomes sensitive, inferior, and fragile. She could not protect herself. Rong Li watched her slowly wither and deteriorate in the gorgeous cage. She had never resisted anything in her short life and accepted her fate naturally. Rong Li hates her but loves her at the same time. Mother's love is like a hot stove. He wants it in winter but wants to throw it away in summer, so Rong Li has no sense of belonging to the Rong family. He is also very disgusted with girls of his mother's type when it comes to choosing a mate. Forget it with Qin Wan, Ji Xian said. Get out, Rong Li was angry, if the woman is dead, it's impossible to find her. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 562. Chapter 562 Crazy Criticism of Gu Ci. Qin Wan was happily gossiping about Rong Li's blind date with Gu Ci all the way. From the tone of his voice, he knew that she wanted to watch the fun. Recently, she wanted to accompany Gu Ci to visit Lu Ziwen around the world, and she could pick him up every day. Gu Ci asked calmly, "Have you finished your graduation thesis?" Qin Wan's smile froze. She was already writing her graduate thesis. Although she hadn't graduated yet, her original topic was related to her major and she could write it easily. After listening to Chen Liangdong's suggestion, she changed her career direction. Chen Liangdong had a way to help her avoid detours, and recommended a general in his department to her. He chatted with Qin Wan about her career and background, and then gave Qin Wan a topic to research on during her graduate studies. Qin Wan had been smart since she was a child, and her grades were hardly among the top 3 in grade, and she ranked among the top 3 in the city. Among the 50, she was good at mathematics, physics, and chemistry, so she studied information engineering, but her research project deviated from what she had learned. She found a few references, which were of little use. She also had to go to the Northwest to do field research. It would take several months to leave, which was even more torturous than Zhang Junlin punishing her for self-cultivation. She is smart, but not one who loves to read. She did not plan to take the postgraduate entrance examination. It was Zhang Junlin who insisted on improving her academic qualifications. At first, he planned for her to graduate with a doctorate. It was her begging for mercy and all kinds of troubles that made Zhang Junlin let her go. As long as I promised to go to graduate school, it would be fine. Originally, graduate school was going smoothly, but who knew that I would stumble on my graduation topic selection? Gu Zio said, "When will you go to Northwest China?" "November, it's early," Qin Wan complained. "Old men can really torture people." "You don't have to listen to the old man's career plan," Gu Zio said. "You can go directly to the National Security Department or the Criminal Investigation Department. Just wait." In a few years, the old man will let you go to the general staff for training. I'm happy to go, Gu Zio said. I will take turns in the General Assembly, General Staff, and General Rear Department. Qin Wan clicked his tongue. Sure enough, the biological ones are different. Stop spreading rumors. This is not a rumor. Many people are guessing whether you are Mr. Chen's biological son. Gu Si was overjoyed. You look like my biological child, Gu Zio said. In terms of appearance, you look much more like me. Qin Wan raised his eyebrows. I look like Chenju, are you blind? It's very similar, Gu Zio said, the charm is very similar. You can pull him down. Gu Si felt a little more relaxed after hearing their bickering. She couldn't help but think of Lu Ziwen. What was he doing now? She thought about that time. She seemed to often relax in the mountains. In the last life, on the mountain of Biwen. Gu Si took Gu Zio for a picnic in the mountains. Gu Zio followed Gu Si with short legs and a jump, holding a green plum picked in the mountain. The fragrance of plums was everywhere. Lu Ziwen followed them. Behind the mother and son, the fragrance of plum blossoms was also smelled. Li Zhang led the guards to stay far away. This is a private hilltop with only one way to go up. The sentry below is well guarded and the mountain is very safe. Gu Chuiyun was taken to the hospital by Ji Xian. During these days, Gu Si and Gu Zi the encounter was very peaceful. Gu Si no longer went crazy, her mental state gradually improved, she no longer took sleeping pills, and rarely had nightmares at night. After Lu Ziwen died, all the photos in the other courtyard were put away, and the racing car model was also hidden. Gu Zio wanted to see his father's image, so Li Zhang took him to see it outside the pavilion. They all avoided Gu Si. In recent days, Gu Zio Sui found Lu Ziwen's photo by himself, pointed at the photo and told Gu Zio that this was his father. Gu Zio has no idea about his father, and he has not been in contact with many people. He actually has no idea about his father. He is even confused as to why the child has a father, so he cannot love him much. It was more out of curiosity. When Gu Si pointed at the image that day and said, "That's Dad," Gu Zio was still confused and asked where Dad went. "Dad is always by our side." Lu Ziwen doubted whether Gu Si could see her, but several times he looked at Gu Si steadily in the bedroom, but Gu Si turned a blind eye, so he no longer doubted it. Gu Zio was still young and found it difficult to climb the mountain. Gu Si had been in prison and was not in good health. Both mother and son climbed the mountain slowly, stopping and stopping along the way to look at the scenery. The last time Gu Si took Gu Zio to climb a mountain to see the scenery, she committed suicide when she went back. This made Lu Ziwen somewhat frightened. Gu Zio also went back. If she wanted to do it again, Lu Ziwen really didn't know who to find to stop her. "Mom, I'm hungry." Gu Zio covered his stomach and blinked aggrievedly. Gu Si stopped and opened her small school bag. She brought a sandwich, milk, and fruit. Gu Zio sat on the stone and ate the sandwich. She was very satisfied. This child was optimistic and lively when he was 2 years old. Gu Siyu wiped the sweat from his forehead with a wet tissue, and felt suffocated when he saw the scars on her arms. She and Li Zhang issued an order that if she goes crazy in the future, they should lock her up and keep her away from Ziyu. Li Zhang agreed, but Gu Si didn't believe it. "Ziyu, does the wound still hurt?" Gu Si held Gu Ziyu's chubby hand and blew on it. "It doesn't hurt anymore." Gu Ziyu picked a grape and fed it to Gu Si. "Mom, eat the grape." Gu Si bit into the grape and rubbed her son's hair. Lu Ziwen watched mother and son get along with each other, feeling happy and sad at the same time. Ziyu really looked like an angel. Why did he turn into a little devil later? Xiao Si is now in a good mental state and everything is going in the right direction. Through monitoring, Ji Xian barely wants to cause trouble for Gu Si and Li Zhang. He just wants Gu Ziyu to be happy. Everyone says that it is natural for parents to love their children, but it is also natural for children to love their parents. No matter how many hardships Zio suffered, he still loved Gu Si so much. The two of them filled their stomachs halfway up the mountain. Gu Si took Gu Zio and continued walking to the top of the mountain. Gu Zio actually didn't want to climb the mountain anymore. It was so tiring. This section was a step, not a cement road. Gu Zio had short legs. Panting, "Mom, I want to go home." "We'll be there just a little further away." Gu Si picked her up. Gu Si was not in good health and couldn't carry heavy objects. Her right hand was neurologically damaged and she had no strength at all. She held Ziyu with one hand. Gu Zio was still young and didn't understand his mother's hard work. Gu Si took the initiative to hug him. The child was very happy and jumped around waving green plums. Lu Ziwen was so tired from looking after Gu Si that he wanted to pull Gu Zio off. A platform was built on the top of the mountain, which is an observation deck. There is a mobile astronomical telescope in the pavilion. When the weather is good, Lu Ziwen will take Gu Si to the top of the mountain to watch the stars. You can also see the scenery of the city in the distance from the observation deck. The mountain has a good view. If it were not a private mountain, there would be many people camping and enjoying the scenery. Li Zhang and the guards were far away and did not bother them. Gu Si put Gu Zio down. This was the first time she came to the observation deck after Lu Ziwen died. There were so many beautiful memories here. Gu Si fell in love with the scene and inevitably thought of Lu Ziwen. If Lu Ziwen was still alive, he must be very fond of Ziyu. They must be a very happy family of three. Gu Si held Zio in his arms and sat on the railing of the observation deck with his feet dangling in the air. Jinwei saw it from a distance and said to Li Zhang, "Boss, it's dangerous for the young master to sit like this." Li Zhang said, "Madam is holding him from behind, it's okay." Kono was terrified. Lu Ziwen stood next to their mother and son, imagining a reunion of a family of three. If he had not died, he would have often brought his mother and son to the observation deck to play. Look at the stars and the night scene at night. During the day, he took them for a walk to pick flowers and wild fruits. There were wild flowers everywhere in the mountains, and there were also a lot of wild fruits, which was quite interesting. He even cooked a candlelight dinner for Gu Si on the top of the mountain. Gu Si hugged Ziyu's waist, kissed the top of Ziyu's head, and said quietly, "Third brother, if Ziyu and I die, can we meet you on the road to hell?" Lu Ziwen was thinking about the good memories he had with Gu Si, and his smile froze when he heard Gu Si chuckle and say, "Ziyu, do you want to go find Dad?" "Li Zhang." Lu Ziwen turned around and called Li Zhang, but unfortunately, Li Zhang couldn't hear his voice. "Li Zhang. Why is this idiot so far away?" Gu Si's condition has improved recently, making him lose his guard and vigilance. Lu Ziwen watched helplessly as Gu Si tried to push Ziyu down. "Looking for Dad, where can we find Dad?" Gu Ziyu asked innocently. "Will Mom go too?" "Yes, Mom is going too." A strange smile appeared on Gu Si's face. "Let's go together." Moi. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 563. Chapter 563. You are my master. Lu Ziwen was horrified by what he saw, and stepped forward to stop him, but Ziyu came back. He couldn't communicate with Ziyu and was so anxious that he looked around in a hurry. Gu Si looked at Ziyu with deep eyes, pity, but also pain and despair. "Baby, don't blame Mom. If you are left alone in the world, Gu Jiwen and Lu Shijia may not let you go. You don't have any relatives in the world. Mom brought you here and she will take you away. Last night, Mom had a dream. Dad said, as long as they die, they can meet again in another world. He said it categorically. Dad has never lied to Mom. Mom believes in him. So, baby, come with me to find him, okay? Goosey's eyes turned red. The arm holding Goosey was shaking. Dreams and reality were pulled, torn, and shattered in front of her eyes. She had no hesitation and wanted to jump into the dream. She believed in Lu Ziwen in the dream and looked forward to reunion. Okay, let's go find Daddy. The ignorant Goosey ran up and down happily without knowing the danger. Goosey looked at the child's clean and innocent eyes, and her heart twisted. She felt like she couldn't breathe after kicking her, and she didn't have any strength in her hands. As long as she let go, Ziyu would be gone. There was no possibility of survival on such a high cliff. She will also accompany Ziyu. With just one push, the nightmare is over. Lu Ziwen was surprised when he heard the dream mentioned by Goosey, and his expression changed greatly. The dream, he tried his best to turn back time. It was indeed after Goosey's death that everything returned to the original point, but how could Goosey dream? Why did she dream? Mom, look at the flying birds. Goosey innocently pointed at the flying birds in the sky. It was rare to see flying birds in winter. The rows of birds flying by carried a message. Winter is about to pass, and spring will return to the earth. Goosey lost strength in an instant, and Li Jiang finally noticed something was wrong and walked over quickly. Madam, it is really dangerous for the young master to sit on the railing. Please put him down first. Goosey swayed his legs. Li Jiang came over and hugged him down. Lu Ziwen also breathed a sigh of relief. Li Jiang was quite smart. He knew that Ziyu would not die today, but he still felt scared and his palms became sweaty. There are so many birds. Goosey was fascinated by the flying birds. Goosey also followed his gaze and looked at the sky dreamily without saying anything. Li Jiang was standing by. He felt strange and did not dare to leave without permission. Goosey smiled lightly and asked, Li Jiang, what are you nervous about? Madam, it's cold in the mountains. You and the young master are weak, and I'm afraid you will catch cold. Li Jiang answered the question, Madam, go home, the food has been heated at home, and it will be whatever you like to eat today. Goosey leaned against the railing, her eyes following Ziyu's running. How many years have you been with third brother? Li Jiang did not answer, and Goosey said quietly, the third brother said that when he was 10 years old, he was elected as a guard, so you followed him. There were a total of 20 young people who participated in the election that year. You were not the most skilled. Why did he fall in love with you? Lu Ziwen also remembered the assessment that year. 20 young people were selected. Li Jiang was indeed not the top one. There were many items in the guard assessment, including culture, reaction, counter-reconnaissance, physical fitness and IQ. When he wanted to choose a guard, none of these teenagers were the best candidates. He should have chosen a mature guard in his 20s instead of choosing people of the same age to slowly train him. The temperament of young people may not be the same when they grow up. Same. When you are young, being older may not be better. Many prodigies are ruined in their growth, but Lu Ziwen did the opposite. He valued loyalty more than ability. There are too many mysteries about him. The most important thing for his guards is not their ability, but their loyalty and toughness. They must be tight-lipped about his affairs, so Li Jiang was ranked in the middle in the selection that year and was inconspicuous, regardless of his skills. Reaction ability and intelligence were not enough, but Lu Ziwen valued Li Jiang's energy. Li Jiang is the only one who passed the loyalty test. Young people are not yet stable enough, and their temperament is even more unpredictable. It is difficult to test loyalty when they are teenagers. Very few can pass the test. Li Jiang passed. Facts have proved that his choice was right. Li Jiang has never betrayed his trust in so many years. I am not very eye-catching among that group of guards. I don't know why the third young master chose me, Li Jiang said. I am from City A. There are 6 people in my family, including an older brother, sister, and a younger sister. I have been weak since I was a child. In order to keep fit, my parents sent me to the martial arts gym, where I studied for 8 years. When the third young master chose to be a guard, I was not on the list. There were people with better conditions in the martial arts gym. One year, my mother suffered from pancreatitis, which gradually developed into pancreatic cancer, and my father also suffered from uremia. Misfortunes never come singly. After the family sold a house, the hospital fee hole was still not enough to fill the gap. Our brothers and sisters were still young, and I was still young. It requires a lot of money. The master of the martial arts school said that if I choose San Xiao's guard, I can get 500,000 yuan a year. I signed up on impulse. San Xiao selected 9 people in the first round, and I ranked at the bottom. In the second round of selection, I felt that I had no hope, but I didn't expect that he would choose me. Why did he choose a close guard? Gu Si asked confused. Lu Shijia and Lu Shixiu don't have any close guards. Why would the 10-year-old third brother choose a close guard? Li Jiang was silent. When he should keep silent, he would not say a word. Gu Si leaned lazily on the railing, the skylight fell on her cheeks, adding a little life, and even the scars on her face faded in the hazy light. The year I was released from prison, he came to pick me up. I saw the guards driving behind him. No matter where he and I went, you followed him. Even when we went to Lu's house, he never left your sight. Li Jiang, he is just a racing driver. After 5 years in coma, fans have forgotten about him. He and I have settled in another courtyard without leaving home, and you are guarding us with your guards. Why? Gu Si asked. Who is he? Ji Sun, who often comes to other courtyards, and what is his relationship with him? Since Madam has doubts, why don't you ask Mr. San? Gu Si was speechless, and her heart was filled with a dull pain. There was no emotion or anger in Li Jiang's voice. After my wife was released from prison, she was confused and wanted to die. The third young master tried his best to you back from the hands of death. But you have always been immersed in your own world, and you are not interested in him. You are not curious about anything, don't care, let alone ask. You are convinced that he is omnipotent and will achieve your wishes. You have low self-esteem, are sensitive, and hide your emotions. You are afraid of being abandoned and let down, so you are afraid of being abandoned. You close yourself, there is no love and no hurt. You have never understood the real third young master. Are you blaming me? Don't dare, Li Jiang said expressionlessly. Third young master has given an order to protect you. What I think is not important. I will do my best to protect you for the rest of my life. If he is gone, you are my master. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 564. Chapter 564. Let's get married. Lu Ziwen knew Li Jiang very well, and he could also hear Li Jiang's dissatisfaction with Gu Si in his words. His tone was normal, but every word was heartbreaking. Gu Si turned around and looked into the distance, sighing quietly. Yes, I'm not worthy, he silly, I can't understand it after so many years. Li Jiang frowned, but said nothing. He looked at Gu Zia with gentle eyes. Gu Zia was covered in sweat from running. He took her hand and said softly, Mom, go home. Okay, go home. A heart-rending suicide passed silently. Lu Ziwen slowly followed Gu Si. He could smell the fragrance from Gu Si's hair. Lu Ziwen tried to hook her hand and interlock with her fingers, but in vain. He remembered that before marriage, he took Gu Si to the beach for vacation. The beach was sparsely populated, but the scenery was beautiful. Gu Si's depression was very serious and she had been taking medicine to control it. She committed suicide several times. After her condition worsened, uncontrollable consequences. When Lu Ziwen woke up that morning, Gu Si was not around, and there was still a little residual warmth on his pillow. He did not see Gu Si in the villa, and Li Zhang and his guards were around the villa. "Where is Gu Si?" Li Zhang said. "Miss Gu went to watch the sun rise. The edge of the cliff is the best viewing platform." Lu Ziwen's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly turned around and gave Li Zhang a sharp look. "I'll settle the score with you later." Lu Ziwen teleported to the edge of the cliff. The sky suddenly appeared, and it was still half dark in the early morning. Gu Si stood on the edge of the cliff, her clothes fluttering, and the sea breeze almost blew away her thin body. Lu Ziwen felt that she was like a butterfly that only takes flight, is fragile and pitiful. When Gu Si was about to jump off the cliff, he grabbed her wrist with heartbreak and escaped from the cliff. Gu Si fell into his arms, her face as pale as a picture paper. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Let me go, Lu Ziwen, I'm so miserable." Depression kept tormenting Gu Si, like a kid from the Shura palace, always coaxing her to jump with sweet words. She was bewitched and deceived, and she just wanted to jump. Go down and find relief. 5 years in prison have transformed her. She has learned fighting and medical skills. She can transform herself into a social elite by dressing up in bright clothes. However, her spirit has been destroyed. She is just the ashes of burning incense and will be scattered by the wind. What about me? Lu Ziwen looked at him with a gloomy look, his heart pounding. Gu Si, you jumped down to escape. What should I do? Have you thought about it? Gu Si shook her head cruelly. I have too much time to take care of myself. How can I take care of others? I am invaded by nightmares day and night. I want to get rid of it, but I keep being swallowed by it. I don't want to be tortured anymore. Lu Ziwen, I am already useless. My face is ruined, my hands are useless, my spirit is desolate, and I have lost the ability to love. The one I loved was Gu Si when I was young. She is dead, she is dead. Lu Ziwen knew everything she had endured, and he also knew that she wanted to be freed. It was because of his greed that he dragged her to suffer in the world. I will carry it with you, Xiaosai, you are just sick. I will help you get out of this predicament. Believe me. Lu Ziwen was extremely distressed. Give it time, everything will pass. That's enough, Gu Si struggled, but Lu Ziwen's strength was very strong. She became angry, grabbed his arm and bit him hard, so hard that a piece of flesh was bitten out. She soon tasted the smell of blood. Lu Ziwen's eyes were red, but the severe pain was not as good as the pain in his heart. The sea breeze blew his hair, covering his eyes. Lu Ziwen's pain amplified infinitely, and finally gradually became numb. I don't want to live, Lu Ziwen, I don't want to live, let me go, and let yourself go. Gu Si cried and begged him. People who want to die can't see the sincerity of others. Even if they dig it out and hold it in front of her, she also indifferent. Lu Ziwen's figure was slightly bent, his usually straight back bent down, his fingers stubbornly held her hand, letting the blood drip on the rock. His strong posture revealed a hint of paranoid pleading. Gu Si, don't leave me. Big tears burst out of her eyes and hit her wrists. Tears and blood blended together without distinguishing each other. It was like a sharp knife hitting Gu Si's heart. Her heart, which she thought was cold and hard, was beating violently. It hurts. Lu Ziwen, the proud son of heaven who never admits defeat, was in front of her, almost begging her to live. The sea breeze tore her disguise, and the light of day suddenly appeared, splitting the dull sky. Light and shadow swayed on the cliff, intertwined. In her eyes, the darkness finally gained color. Xiao Si, if you can't find a reason to live, live for me, okay, Lu Ziwen begged with red eyes, gently wiping her tears with his fingers, "we live and die together, if you really feel it's too painful, I'll go with you." He dragged Gu Si to the edge of the cliff. Li Jiang was shocked and said, "Third master. Don't come over." Lu Ziwen looked back at Li Jiang, "Get out." Li Jiang clenched his fists, filled with regret. When Gu Si walked out of the villa in a daze, as if he was sleepwalking, with undried tears on his face, Li Jiang could tell that something was wrong with Gu Si's state. He did not remind Lu Ziwen and turned a blind eye. He didn't want the third master to immerse himself in this hopeless love and kill himself. He hoped that this relationship would end with Gu Si's death. He regretted it. He should stop Gu Si immediately. The rapids are surging under the cliff, and there are many reefs. The snow-white waves are crashing on the rocks. Each wave is faster than the other. The sea is so black that you can't see the bottom. If you jump down, this is the burial place for them. Gu Si held Lu Ziwen's hand, and she stared into Lu Ziwen's eyes with tearful eyes. In his focused and gentle gaze, Gu Si's cold blood gradually became hot. She had never been afraid of death, and even longed for death, but at this moment hesitating, she looked at the darkness under the cliff in fear. There was a sharp contrast between her fear and Lu Ziwen's calmness. Lu Ziwen gently clasped her fingers together, "Let's dance together, Gu Si. If you don't want to live with me, I will die with you." Gu Si felt great pain in her heart. The howling sea wind stirred up waves in the distance, and also brought about the sunrise. A red sun slowly rose from the sea level, and the sunlight fell on the cliff, stinging Gu Si's eyes. The long dark night has passed. Sunrise brings new hope. Gu Si pulled Lu Ziwen back and threw herself into his arms uncontrollably. Her tears wet his clothes. "Lu Ziwen." She shouted his name desperately and enthusiastically. This name was hotter than the sunrise in the sunrise. It gave her the courage to live and could dispel all her haze. "I'm here," Lu Ziwen responded gently. Every call she made was met with his gentle response. He kissed her hair gently and asked gently, "Gu Si, marry me, let's get married." End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 565. Chapter 565. We are not very familiar with each other. Lu Ziwen thought of the past and felt a little depressed. He sat in the courtyard and watched Gu Si sweep fallen leaves. After the suicide incident, Gu Si felt much better. She asked Li Jiang to buy some flowers and flower stands. She planted flowers in the courtyard and raised them. Flowers, entertaining themselves. Gu Ziu has also reached the age of reading and literacy. The child is very smart. He can remember an ancient poem after reading it once. He can also remember it when he takes the test the next day, and he can count from 1 to 100. Teach him, you can do it in one go, which is very worry-free. Li Jiang said, "The young master's IQ must be that of the third master." Gu Ziu studied and didn't like to write indoors, so he stayed with Gu Si. Gu Si was growing flowers in the courtyard, so he wrote in the courtyard. He learned to write his own name in an hour, and he could also write Gu Si's name. Gu Si praised him. He will be happy one day and study more diligently. Lu Ziwen felt heartbroken when he saw it. When the boy is 2 years old, he will observe the words and emotions and want to be praised by his mother. Lu Ziwen accompanied the mother and son to live a warm and ordinary life. During this period of time that he did not understand, he wanted to know what Gu Si had suffered and what Ziyu had suffered. But if he stayed here for a few years, in reality what should he do with Gu Si and Ziyu who are waiting for him in the world? Lu Ziwen was also very conflicted. He felt sorry for the person in front of him, but he also knew that he wouldn't be able to stay here for long. It is useless to dwell on the past, so we should let go of it as soon as possible. In this memory, he was satisfied to see Gu Si and Ziyu in good health. But he still had some things to find out. Why Zhang Junlin had his leg broken and who did it was still a mystery. He wanted to find out about it. After crossing over, Lu Ziwen left the other courtyard for the first time. But as soon as he got off the mountain, he suddenly felt dizzy, the world was spinning, and the whole world was twisted and falling apart. Lu Ziwen was sucked into a mist and lost consciousness. Woke up again, already in the world. He is back. Lu Ziwen had a splitting headache. Li Zhang and Ji Xian were very happy to see that he was awake and safe. Li Zhang and Gu Xi reported that he was safe. Gu Xi did not see the message while undergoing surgery in the hospital, but Gu Ziu did. He asked after the vacation, he came to see him. Lu Ziwen had just done a physical examination and there was nothing serious. Gu Ziu was worried. Dad, have you checked clearly? When Gu Ziu came back, he told Lu Ziwen that he wanted to find out who the person who bumped into Zhang Junlin was. It couldn't be Ji Suan. Neither Gu Ziu nor Lu Ziwen thought it was Ji Suan. Although he is the biggest suspect. No. Gu Ziu was a little disappointed, but he also knew that there was nothing he could do. Lu Ziwen was still stuck in memories and couldn't get out. He was taciturn. Gu Ziu could understand him very well. Ji Xian and Li Zhang didn't bother them. They could handle the official business themselves. Where's your mom? At the hospital, she recently had a scientific research project and was quite busy, so she may not have seen the information. Gu Ziu asked for leave and had to wait for Gu Xi to come with him before going home. Lu Ziwen was really depressed and didn't want to idle upstairs. He went to race cars at the training ground downstairs. When he was in a bad mood, he especially liked sports cars. Only racing could make him forget everything. Gu Ziu and Ji Sun were sitting in the stands, watching Lu Ziwen drive a car alone. Ji Sun asked, "How long will Third Master be in this state?" "How do I know?" Gu Ziu Tanchao said, "Although we are father and son, I don't know him well." "You know him better than me." "I really broke Zhang Junlin's leg." Gu Ziu frowned. "It's very possible, but there is no evidence. You and I have been together for so many years and you don't even know about this." "Brother, in our last life we didn't talk about our thoughts or life." Gu Ziu pointed at himself. "We are both antisocial personalities. I also have autism. We can only do bad things together." Ji Sun. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 566. Chapter 566. Have you really had a crush on me since childhood? After Gu Xi saw the message from Li Zhang and Gu Ziu, her eyes lit up. She quickly took off her robe, hurriedly gave the nurse a few words and left the hospital. Today's road conditions were also very respectable. There was no traffic jam at all. Gu Xi had a good time all the way. It was smooth sailing to the global center, and on the way I sent a message asking where Gu Xi was. She already had a long-lost feeling of burning blood. After getting off the car, Gu Xi ran to the field to meet the person she liked. She always ran without hesitation. Lu Ziwen turned 18 and was promoted to the adult group for the first time to participate in the F1 racing competition. When Gu Xi was in high school, the competition was in City A. That afternoon happened to be the class exam. Gu Xi acted as a scumbag and was always lazy. Yang Yang handed in the paper last, an hour early for the first time that day. The teacher hates iron and does not like steel. He does not like to study. He likes to hand in blank papers and has to hand them in early. He did not allow Gu Xi to leave early. Gu Xi took out the test paper, wrote the last big question in 3 minutes, randomly selected the multiple choice questions, patted himself on the podium, picked up his school bag and ran away, like a school bully. The teacher was confused, but the more she read the test paper, the more she felt something was wrong. Gu Ci had a novel solution to the last big question. It was an Olympic competition question. Her solution was different from the standard steps, but the answer was the same. Looking at the multiple choice questions she filled in casually, she was correct. The rate is 100%. Gu Ci ran all the way out of the campus and stopped a car to watch the game. She didn't like racing, but she bought a ticket early and decided to go to his game at the right time. Zhou Jinjin asked, "Lu Ziwen is your mortal enemy, why do you want to go to the game?" Gu Ci chewed gum arrogantly and blew a bubble. Look at his unlucky appearance of winning the last place. Zhou Jinjin was speechless. Okay, you really hate him. Zhou Jinjin was not a die-hard fan at that time, so he got her a ticket, and Gu Ci clicked it. Seeing that the racing was about to start, she impatiently urged the master. The master was a tough guy who responded to every request and accelerated like crazy. And then unfortunately a series of car accidents occurred. Gu Ci was sitting in the back seat without wearing a seat belt, and her head was bruised and bloody. She didn't wait for the ambulance. She originally wanted to take a taxi, but found that she only had 10 yuan with her. Gu Ci had to buy a subway ticket. When she left the subway station, she was still 1 kilometer away from the stadium. Gu Ci ran as fast as she could and ran to. By the time we hit the field, the game was over. Gu Ci heard deafening shouts outside the court and knew that Lu Ziwen had won the championship. She felt mixed emotions in her heart. She thought to herself that her rival was so lucky to win the championship in the first competition. She did not see the unlucky look on his last place. But she was in a car accident and running again, so she was really unlucky. Now I understand the hidden thoughts of her youth. She wanted to participate in the most important moment of Lu Ziwen's life. She had tried her best to run towards him, but she still regretted missing it. When Gu Ci was running towards the track, Lu Ziwen stopped just in time. Handsome and domineering, he was still the king on the track. Gu Ci's blood burned even hotter as he ran towards Lu Ziwen. As soon as he took off his helmet, he saw Gu Ci running over. The injured Gu Ci overlapped with the figure in front of him. Lu Ziwen subconsciously dropped the helmet and opened his arms to catch her. Gu Ci listened to his strong heartbeat, and her hanging heart finally fell back to its original place. She ran to him through mountains and rivers. After so many years, it seemed that she had finally reached the end. I thought I would never see you again. Gu Ci never mentioned her fear to others. When Lu Ziwen and Gu Zia were in coma, she always thought of Lu Ziwen's words in the research institute. It was like a curse taking root in her heart. She was afraid that this was a curse. She and Gu Ci were in coma. Lu Ziwen is separated from heaven and man forever. When she was guarding Lu Ziwen, she stared at the instrument, not daring to take a glance away, for fear of seeing his heartbeat become a straight line. The news brought back by Ziyu made her fear less, and now she saw that he was still alive. Standing on the ground, she finally felt relieved. How could it be, Lu Ziwen said, I will always be with you. Lu Ziwen hugged her, stroking her long hair with his fingers and hooking it behind her ears, and gently pinched her earlobe. You must be scared. Gu Ci nodded, I'm scared to death. She suddenly took a step back, turning pale with panic. Don't you feel pain? Lu Ziwen chuckled lightly, put one hand around her waist and pulled her into his arms, and raised his chin. Ziyu is here. Gu Ci followed his gaze and saw that Ziyu and Ji Xian were in the stands, not far from them. Gu Ci had calmed down for a while. He had just run a few laps and was covered in sweat. Gu Ci wiped it with his sleeves naturally. His sweat. Lu Ziwen looked at her intently, withdrawing from those sad and dark memories. This was the real world, and those pains were far away from Gu Ci. The two held hands and walked on the track. Ji Huan patted Gu Ziyu on the shoulder and said, let's go, don't be a light bulb. Third Master and Zayasai haven't seen each other for a long time, so let's be more sensible. The Toolman Guzio looked at Ji-sun faintly. Ji-sun. I can't leave. Guzio waved his hand helplessly. You can go alone. Ji-xian was confused. Baby, are you still so clingy? Guzio's face turned dark. I have a hard time. Tell me and listen. Ji-sun sat down again, with a gossipy look on his face. What's the reason? Inconvenient. Brother is sad. You actually have a little secret to hide from me. My little secret is normal, Guzio said with a smile. I have a lot of little secrets. Ji-sun. Guzio couldn't leave, and Ji-sun couldn't leave him alone in the stands. He took out his mobile phone to send a message to Zhang Junlin, and took a photo of Gu Xi and Lu Ziwen to send to him. Zhang Junlin had known for a long time that Lu Ziwen had woken up, so he replied calmly. Guzio glanced at him and said, Uncle is so cold, you are like a licking dog. Did you know about it on the first day? That's not true. Guzio resented that iron could not be transformed into steel. There is no future. Ji Huan was overjoyed. In fact, he didn't care at all what others thought of him as a licking dog. Do you think anyone can be Zhang Junlin's licking dog? Many people wanted to be the leader, but Zhang Junlin didn't give him a chance. It's worthless. Guzio once again determined that love is not a good thing and makes people lose consciousness. Gu Xi didn't ask Lu Ziwen what he saw when he went back, or why he was unconscious. She put it back on again. She suddenly told Lu Ziwen about his first competition. Lu Ziwen was surprised. Have you come to watch the game? When I arrived, the game was over. Gu Xi said with a chuckle. The car accident delayed me for more than half an hour. The master was afraid that something would happen to me, so he pulled me to wait for the ambulance. He was afraid that he would be responsible for the accident, so I took advantage of it and ran away. Yes, the subway is too far away from the stadium, so it's a pity that it took 2 lines. Gu Xi chuckled and said, it's your first time to win the adult category. Lu Ziwen gently scratched her palm. Actually, I gave you that ticket. Gu Xi. Lu Ziwen flicked her forehead and said, those are VIP tickets in the front row. They have the best view. How did Zhou Jinjin get it? How did you know I was going to the game? Lu Ziwen rubbed his nose. 1 month before the game, I came to you before the closed training camp, hoping that you would go to the game, but you rejected me. I was very angry and lost, and I was in an awkward mood at the time, so I went to the training camp to get angry with you. Li Zhang heard that you and Zhou Jinjin were asking for a ticket, so I got a ticket for you and asked Zhou Jinjin to give it to you. While warming up before the game, he looked towards the stands and didn't see Gu Xi. He felt quite disappointed. At that time, he also thought that Gu Xi had an exam in the afternoon, which might delay him a little. It was his first time competing, and he was still very nervous. When he thought that Gu Xi would be in the stands, he secretly vowed to win the championship. After the game, he was the first to look for Gu Xi. Hunting to see Gu Xi, Lu Ziwen's joy after winning the championship was also halved. Gu Xi was really shocked. Thinking of Lu Ziwen's secret crush on her, she asked uncertainly, are you really having a crush on me since you were a child? Lu Ziwen's ears turned red suspiciously. They never mentioned the past, and they were forced to separate before they even had time to enjoy the romance of love. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 567. Chapter 567. Watching a movie. Those heavy pasts, curses, and bad fate were like a chasm that could not be crossed, and they began to tacitly keep silent about the past. Gu Xi chuckled and said, it's the third young master who has a crush on me, not you. How come it's not me? Lu Ziwen argued. Let's discuss this matter clearly. Gu Xi smiled and said nothing. Lu Ziwen couldn't help but plead guilty for himself. He had to know everything about Gu Ci from childhood to adulthood. It was just an extra memory. No matter how he defended himself, Gu Ci just smiled. It was rare for her to see Lu Ziwen arguing with someone about something so anxiously and white-faced. It was quite interesting. The more anxious he was, the happier Gu Ci felt. Then which one of me do you like more? Lu Ziwen asked tentatively. Isn't it all you? Gu Ci teased him, you said it yourself. Lu Ziwen shot himself in the foot and was a little angry. After all, Gu Ci couldn't bear to let him be really angry. She held his hand and said with a chuckle, actually, in my eyes, it's all you. Which time period of me do you like best? Lu Ziwen still wanted an answer. Gu Ci said without hesitation, I will always like you in front of me. Fancy words can bring peace to a bowl of water. Gu Ci laughed and didn't mention anything about the institute. The fear of these days was finally over. She took it one step at a time, and she didn't want to think about things that were too far away. Why did you get out of the car? Gu Ci asked. I feel a little bad after lying down for so long. Come down and run for a while to relax your muscles and bones. Gu Ci raised her eyebrows, since we need to relax, let's go watch a movie together in the evening. Bring a light bulb. I wanna go. Fine. When Gu Ziu heard that he was going to watch a movie, his face dropped. He asked tentatively, can I watch it upstairs? Our home theater is also very big. The tool man didn't want to cooperate. Lu Ziwen and Gu Ci looked at each other, and Gu Ziu said, I have work in the evening. Okay, Gu Ci chuckled. In fact, she just wanted to be alone with Lu Ziwen and go on a date, even on the top floor. Lu Ziwen said, I will cook for you tonight. You, Gu Ci and Gu Ziu stopped, staring at him with two pairs of incredible eyes. Gu Ci blurted out, why didn't I know you could cook? When you were just released from prison, I cooked every meal with my own hands. Gu Ci recalled how she was frightened at that time. Lu Ziwen took good care of her. The meals were simple, home-cooked side dishes, porridge and snacks, all very exquisite. You must have flirted with the blind man. Mom thought it was made by the chef. When I first arrived at the other courtyard, there were no servants at home. That's what Li Zhang did. Lu Ziwen thought about it and realized that he was indeed throwing his flirtatious eyes at a blind man. Then we will be waiting for your dinner tonight. After going upstairs, Lu Ziwen went to wash up first. Rongli and Ji Xian were also very sensible and did not disturb them. Rongli said, there is something wrong with the third master. He spends the afternoon racing. When he is not racing, he is in an extremely bad mood. Only then can I go racing. Ji Sun also knows this habit. This habit is actually the habit of the third young master, not the third master. The third master is emotionally stable, almost emotionless, so he is not particularly troubled. You can see it, can Zayasai not see it? Gu Ziu really had a job and wanted to borrow Lu Ziwen's study. Lu Ziwen didn't hold back and let him come and go as he pleased. Gu Ziu asked with a subtle expression, Dad, just give me 3 computers. It's not appropriate to enter your study bar. What's inappropriate? Different camps, avoid suspicion. Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows, so what are the rules? If you don't mind, it doesn't matter to me. Gu Ziu coughed, I am very curious and my bottom line is not high. If you see something you shouldn't see, don't blame me. You can watch as you like, Lu Ziwen chuckled and closed the door considerately. This is the first time Gu Ziu has entered Lu Ziwen's study. As he said, he has always avoided suspicion for fear of getting into unnecessary trouble. Lu Ziwen is the switchboard of the entire Global Information Center. The equipment is higher end and more complete than Gu Ziu's study. The walls are all covered with electronic screens. The large space behind the study is where the switchboard is located, which is the most central place in the world. Both Kyoan and Jidao have explored the topographic map of the global center, and they have determined the location of the switchboard at the information center. It is so close that they did not expect it to be on the top floor. Guzio was really curious. As soon as he came, he visited the equipment in Lu Ziwen's study. Some of them were Black Hawk's own equipment. Guzio had never seen them before, and he was amazed. Gu Si asked, "Are you really relieved? He is my son, what are you worried about?" His attitude was normal, so Gu Si didn't worry anymore. Lu Ziwen had taken a shower and his hair was still half dried. He opened the refrigerator and took a look at the inventory. Universal's ingredients were all specially supplied and were taken directly from the five-star restaurant downstairs. There are very few ingredients in the frozen layer, almost all of them are refrigerated, and Jiang will send someone to replace them every day. "What do you want to eat?" Lu Ziwen asked. "What will you do?" Lu Ziwen thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll do it. Come here and dry your hair first." Gu Si pulled him to sit on the sofa in the bedroom, and wiped his hair with a clean towel. Lu Ziwen enjoyed it very much. He looked at Gu Si intently, his eyes filled with tears. In the firelight, Gu Si felt soft at the sight of him, and her heart moved slightly. She leaned over and kissed him on the lips. Lu Ziwen hooked her waist, held her and sat on his lap, pinched her waist gently, and there was a puddle of water in his arms. "Don't make trouble." Gu Si blushed, and Lu Ziwen kissed her lips, which were sucked and turned red. The man's hormones just after racing had nowhere to be released, so they were all used on her. The towel fell aside and no one paid attention to it. The two hugged and rolled onto the bed. Gu Si was more enthusiastic than him and almost tore his shirt. Habbed and wheezed frequently. "Xiao Si." Lu Ziwen bit the skin on the side of her neck. "Help me." After Guzio explored the study, he felt that his study needed to be upgraded. After he contacted Chen Liangdong sent him an email. Guzio went out while reading the email. The hall was quiet and silent. I took a bottle of drink from the refrigerator, and the cold coke flowed down my throat and into my belly, taking away the heat. Cool. My parents should go watch a movie. Guzio shrugged his shoulders and went back to the study humming a tune. As soon as he entered the study, Chen Liangdong's call came. "Have you finished reading the information?" Guzio nodded and drank half a bottle of coke. "After reading this, don't worry. As soon as they make a transaction, I will definitely be able to intercept it. They can't take the money away." Chen Liangdong nodded. "I'll send you the satellite password, and you can connect to the bureau's signal and monitor it simultaneously." Good. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 568. Chapter 568 Son and Father. Guzio was working in Lu Ziwen's study. This was the first time that he kept an eye on it, operated his hands on the keyboard, and added an encryption barrier. Guzio's department has strong capabilities, with particularly strong investigation and counter-investigation capabilities. It is very suitable for investigating economic cases. All major economic cases in the past 3 years have been solved by Guzio's department. The big case recently was a backdoor listing of a technology company to transfer assets. This technology company is the focus of the country and has been cultivated. In the past few years, it took a large amount of money for arbitrage. It did not achieve any success in scientific research, so it put all of it into the futures market for arbitrage. In recent manipulation transactions, assets have to be transferred. Guzio is responsible for collecting evidence. Once the evidence chain is completed, the network can be closed. Guzio had tracked their information 3 months ago and judged that there would be transactions in the near future, so he was waiting for them early. In the bedroom, it was full of spring scenery. Gu Si gritted her teeth. Against the background of the dark quilt, her skin was whiter than the snow. A few red plum blossoms bloomed on the snow. When the wind passed, the flowers bloomed in clusters. Her voice was charming and her body was soft. Everything about her attracted Lu Ziwen's soul. This hangout lasted all afternoon. The evening light poured down from the floor-to-ceiling windows and fell on her white calves. They were astonishingly beautiful. The two of them were covered in sweat, as if they had been fished out of the water. The remaining warmth afterward was as warm as the sunset. It was still hot, accompanied by intense heartbeat and sweat, which were intensely intertwined. Gu Ci poked his shoulder and said, "It's time for you to cook." There are still bite marks from Gu Ci's teeth on his shoulders. Lu Ziwen lowered his head to kiss her, and the two of them had a close kiss. Then he stood up and picked up the clothes left by the bed and put them on one by one. The clothes were loosely worn. Lu Ziwen lowered his head with satisfaction and kissed her on the lips. "Sleep for a while, dinner is called you." Gu Ci pulled the quilt up and covered her face, which was as red as the clouds in the sky. Lu Ziwen was casually dressed in home clothes. When he came out, Gu Ziyu was not in the living room. He went to the study and took a look. The young man had a cold face and his hands were clacking while typing, as if he was quarreling with someone. Lu Ziwen did not bother his son and closed the door. 3 meals a day, a loving wife and young children, he could not ask for such a peaceful life for many years. He had to be satisfied for 10 years in one day. Lu Ziwen took out the ingredients and cooked slowly. Gu Ci was so tired that she fell asleep almost instantly. It was already 6:30 after Gu Ziyu finished work, and Chen Liangdong had another task for him. Gu Ziyu had to reunite with his parents, and the social worker arrogantly refused to work overtime. He smelled the aroma when he came out. The top floor of Universal Plaza occupies a large area, with a living area of more than 1,000 square meters and a kitchen of 100 square meters. On the island are vegetables washed by Lu Ziwen. Wow, there is a king crab. Gu Ziyu likes to eat seafood. This king crab weighs 7 or 8 pounds and looks very plump. Where did it come from? Li Zhang went to the restaurant downstairs to get the ingredients ordered by the customer. Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, "It happened to be Ji Sun who ordered it. He can eat it next time." When Gu Zi met Da Li, he remembered what Ji Huan had told him in the afternoon. "Dad, you must have done it on purpose." Ji Huan and his uncle were going to have dinner downstairs in the evening. He finally coaxed his uncle to change restaurants, and he even took away the ingredients. "Really?" Lu Ziwen spread his hands, "I don't know." Gu Ziyu was lying in front of the Zongdao stage, looking at Lu Ziwen at leisure, curious and fresh. Lu Ziwen's hair was casually scattered. He looked particularly young. He was wearing a simple shirt and pure cotton trousers. He was simple, young, relaxed and lazy. He always had a smile in his eyes. Gu Ziyu remembered what he had seen when he just walked in. "My father is so coquettish and laughing, he looks several years younger." He picked up the washed cherries and ate them, and asked casually, "Dad, is there any happy news? Your eyes are almost open." A rare 7-point emotion appears on his face. There was old duck and bamboo shoot soup simmering in the pot. Lu Ziwen was handling the king crab and glanced at Gu Ziyu. "Do you know when the peacock opens its tail?" "Courtship." The peacock's tail feathers are very beautiful. They spread out to attract the opposite during courtship. Gu Ziyu ate a handful of cherries. "You look like a peacock now." "I don't know much, but I have a sharp eye." Gu Ziyu could tell that Lu Ziwen was mocking him, but he didn't quite understand it. He turned to look for foreign aid. "Where's Mom?" "Your mother is tired and sleeping." "You've been sleeping all afternoon, are you still tired?" Gu Ziyu walked towards the bedroom. "I'll call her." "Come back." Lu Ziwen finished handling the crab legs and called Gu Ziyu back. He hesitated to speak. Gu Ziyu looked at him innocently, and the father and son stared at each other with big eyes. Lu Ziwen laughed and said, "Son, read more idle books. You are so old and you look a bit stupid if you don't understand human affairs anymore." "Why are you attacking me personally?" Gu Zio said angrily. "How stupid am I? Geniuses with IQs over 200 are rare in the world." Lu Ziwen put cheese in the processed crab shells. It looked like he was going to make cheese crab cakes. Gu Zio's mouth was watering. He didn't expect Lu Ziwen to be able to handle such complicated ingredients. Lu Ziwen ignored his anger, and Gu Zio asked, "What are you reading?" Lu Ziwen cut the green onions and ginger, thought for a while, took his mobile phone, and sent a few books to Gu Zio. "If you are smart, read more books. The more you read, the more you will understand." "Oh." Gu Zio snorted arrogantly, "Is there anything else I don't understand?" "Impossible." He was not in a hurry to read. Seeing Lu Ziwen preparing so many ingredients, Gu Zio suggested, "You have collected Ji-sun's ingredients and prepared so many dishes. Why don't you ask Ji-sun and uncle to come up and eat? Do you think it's appropriate to invite your uncle to the top floor of the globe?" Lu Ziwen asked slowly. He hadn't adopted him yet, but he was getting intimate. "If there's anything inappropriate, I'll come into your study," Gu Zio said. "How about, I ask?" Lu Ziwen took a look at the ingredients. He had indeed prepared a lot of dishes, but when he thought of Zhang Junlin's taste, he is a picky eater and is not suitable for eating the dishes I cook. "The situation is too small, let Ji Xian do it," Gu Zio said. "Brother will be very happy." "You ask," Lu Ziwen said, "Ji Sun will most likely reject you." "Impossible." Gu Zio picked up his cell phone and sent a text message to Ji Sun, telling him that the king crab had been picked up and asking him and Zhang Junlin to come up to eat together. Ji Sun could prepare Zhang Junlin's meal. "What to bet on?" "You can bet whatever you want. You will definitely lose. My brother usually won't refuse me." 3 minutes later, Ji-sun returned. Ji-sun said, "Baby, let's do it next time." Gu Zio. "Why?" "Zio, read more." Lu Ziwen pointed to his mobile phone with a half smile. "After you have studied thoroughly, we can also talk about our thoughts after reading." Although Gu Zio didn't know what Lu Ziwen was referring to, he still felt that he was being ridiculed. "Just read the book." He took the plate of cherries that had been washed for Gu Si and ran to the living room. While eating, he lay down and opened the book Lu Ziwen gave him. As soon as he read the first chapter, his phone fell down and almost hit his beautiful nose. You actually let me read pornographic books." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 569. Chapter 569 Single Player Game. Gu Si woke up from hunger. When she came out, she saw Gu Zio lying on the sofa and looking at his mobile phone. He was fascinated by it. Gu Si came over and asked, "Where are you playing games?" Gu Zio was frightened, and the phone fell down for the second time, hitting the tip of his nose. The pain was so painful that he almost burst into tears. He hurriedly pressed down the phone interface. The operation was strange and nervous. Gu Zio blushed. His eyes were wandering all over the place, and he sat upright. Mom, you're awake, did you sleep well?" Gu Si. Lu Ziwen laughed and put a hand on his lips to hide his smile. Gu Zio's ears and neck turned red. When Gu Si looked at Lu Ziwen, Gu Zio was also looking at him from behind and gestured to Lu Ziwen to wipe his neck with a particularly fierce look. "What riddles are you playing?" Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, "A man's secret." Gu Zio. Gu Si. The two of them were mysterious. Gu Si didn't think deeply about it and walked to the kitchen. Gu Zio breathed a sigh of relief. He almost got caught. It was so dangerous. Guzio secretly took out his mobile phone to think about it. In the kitchen, Lu Ziwen has prepared 4 dishes: pineapple sweetened pork, cherry foie gras, steamed croaker, garlic broccoli, old duck, and bamboo shoot soup is simmering, crabs are also steaming, and there are 6 more in the oven. Cheese crab patty. Lu Ziwen doesn't like to make cold dishes, almost all are hot dishes, and the calories are not high. Gu Ci looked at it and it was delicious, delicious, and delicious. Can you really cook? Gu Ci leaned on the island table and poked his waist. Did you know how to cook before, or did you learn it in the past 5 years? What's so difficult about cooking? I'm a smart man with strong hands-on skills. It's normal for me to know how to cook. Lu Ziwen chuckled and scratched the tip of her nose with his index finger. He looked at Guzio, who was reading attentively. He lowered his head. Kissed Gu Ci on the lips. Gu Ci gently bit his lip. Don't seek death, Lu Ziwen said hoarsely, my son is really a light bulb. Haha, Guzio didn't even raise his head, I can hear it. Gu Ci laughed, when did you learn to cook? Back then, I was all alone in the temple. If I couldn't make a fire to cook, wouldn't I starve to death? Lu Ziwen said with a chuckle, speaking in an indifferent tone. When mentioning the past, he no longer cared about it. Gu Ci raised his eyebrows and said, isn't it that everyone worships in the temple? The meals offered are all cold vegetables, fruits and vegetables, which I don't like to eat. Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, have you seen the food offered in the temple? That is not for human consumption. When we go to worship our ancestors during the Qingming festival, my grandma and aunt will cook, all hot, and they will also bring a chicken and freshly steamed fish. Your ancestors had better food. Gu Ci chuckled and saw that he was preparing to fry 2 vegetarian dishes. You have cooked so many dishes that the 3 of us can't finish them. Did you also invite Ji Sun and Rong Li? Guzio invited him, but he declined. Lu Ziwen said, we can eat it ourselves. The portion is not big, so we can finish it. Okay, Gu Ci washed some cherries and brought them over to eat with Guzio. When Guzio saw her coming over, he put his phone away again. This time he was much calmer. What are you playing with? Keep your phone in your hand. Game. Guzio's face was calm. What game? Mom wants to relax recently. You invite me to play together. Gu Ci put down the cherry. Lu Ziwen laughed again. Guzio felt that he was being laughed at, and his face turned red again. This is a single-player game. All right. I have something to do this afternoon. I will update it tonight. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 570. Chapter 570, Call me brother, but you want to be the big brother. Lu Ziwen cooked a table of dishes. Gu Ci and Guzio thought that the presentation was very good and the taste might be average. Who knew that after they tasted it, they found that it was delicious. This skill is even better than that of a 5-star chef. Dad, you are a chef who was delayed by racing. If you don't use your skills as a chef to benefit us, it would be a waste of money. It would be such a waste. Guzio gave a thumbs up, better than my brother's skills. In your heart, do you finally have one advantage that is better than Ji Sun? Are you being petty? I always admit your strengths. Okay, Guzio was a caring and warm man to Gu Ci. He didn't need Lu Ziwen to do anything. He had prepared crab meat for Gu Ci, and even cooked it thoughtfully. The fish bones were shaved off and the fish meat was given to Gu Ci. The movements are very natural, and it seems that he often serves Gu Ci like this at home. Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows and said, Guzio, you are a fool. I'm eating, I haven't stopped. Guzio tried every dish and didn't hear what Lu Ziwen meant. Gu Ci suppressed laughter and kicked Lu Ziwen. This vinegar bucket, my son's vinegar, will also be eaten. Is it delicious? Lu Ziwen asked Gu Ci. Gu Si answered in the affirmative, we are a family of 3, and you must be responsible for the kitchen. If you cook a few more times to whet our appetite, you will cook every day. What a beautiful thought. Our family has a picky gene. Zhang Junlin was impressed, and Lu Ziwen laughed. It's something you get used to. It's a rare thing to do. You should cherish it. Gu Ziu, I'm such a good cook. Don't you learn from it and make up your mind to catch up. It's not necessary. You win on this point, I admit. I lose. Gu Ziu is responsible for eating, not cooking. His cooking taste is average, he is self-aware, and he doesn't like cooking. It was a rare reunion for a family of 3, and the atmosphere was great. Gu Si and Lu Ziwen had a few drinks, and Gu Ziu also toasted with a Coke. Li Zhang was very touched when he saw this scene. Such a family atmosphere was what the third master dreamed of. When he thought of the letter that third master left for him, Li Zhang felt very heavy. His faithful hope, that is a letter that will forever remain in the dust. Hide it from the light of day, hide it in a place only he knows, and never open it for the rest of your life. Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin were also dining downstairs. Although the king crab was requisitioned, he also left other ingredients. It is difficult to get an appointment at this Michelin restaurant. There are several Cantonese chefs who only cook one dish, so it is difficult to get an appointment. Zhang Junlin was tricked by Ji Sun. The two of them ordered 10 dishes. The portions were not big and could be eaten by 2 grown men. Each dish had onions, ginger, and garlic, but Zhang Junlin did not taste it. How is it? Ji Sun asked tentatively. You asked me to try the food. Yeah, it would be nice to have one more place to go to so that you don't have to go to those restaurants all the time, Ji Xian said with a chuckle. Zhang Junlin tried 2 dishes and they both tasted pretty good. The dishes were light but not bland. It's okay, Zhang Junlin said it was okay, which means it tastes very good. Ji Sun snapped his fingers and said, brother, these dishes have all the ingredients. Can you eat them? This is strange. Zhang Junlin is very sensitive to taste, so he is very picky about food. Are you sure? Of course, I told the chef about your taboos, and he promised to make it so that you can't eat it, and it can also stimulate the fragrance of the ingredients. He wrote me the steps, and I will make it for you in a few days. Zhang Junlin looked at Ji Sun jokingly. Ji Sun really tried his best to pamper him. He was obviously a few years older than Ji Sun. He was emotionally stable and insightful. He should be taking care of Ji Sun's emotions. In fact, on the contrary, Ji Sun seems to be addicted to this kind of favor. You call yourself brother, but you don't do anything that a younger brother should do. End of this chapter.